Okay, guys, maybe you have a video production company. Maybe you have a photography company that does weddings and you're thinking about adding wedding filmmaking to your packages, or maybe you just start from scratch and thinking a wedding filmmaking business would be a great business to start. It certainly can be, but there are 4 things I really want you to think about before you embark on this journey. So let's get into it. All right, guys, before we get into that, do me a favor, like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out, and we're almost at 1,000 subscribers. Would love for you to come on this journey with us. That being said, today's video is brought to you by our shop, Epic Creative Shop. I'm actually wearing one of our new designs now, so if you want to check that out, just go in the link in the description. So, guys, the first thing that I want to stress is do not get into wedding filmmaking for the money. There's a lot of other ways to make more money faster. So if you're looking at this like, oh, I can make a bunch of money, yes, you can make some good money, but if you're going in it for the money, you're going to get yourself in trouble, trust me. And if you just want to make money, there's plenty of other ways to do it, and there are a lot of easier ways to do it, because wedding filmmaking can be very, very hard. So please, guys, do not go into this for the money, because this is not, no offense to these trades that I'm about to list, but this is not plumbing. This is not HVAC work where if you mess up, sorry, we can come back and replace that pipe, or sorry, our apologies, we'll do this. This is a very serious event that is only going to happen once, and you cannot mess it up. Even if you're new, even if you're not a super experienced filmmaker, you cannot mess this up. So please, trust me, do not go into this craft for the money. Go into this craft if you love people. If you love people and you value others and what they value, which is their family and their growing families, I think you'll do well. That's what I found gives me the most satisfaction. And as grueling as weddings can actually be, I've done over 80 weddings in my tenure, and they can be a grind, because like last night I got home at midnight after doing a 12-hour wedding, from makeup to send-off, and I never felt drained. I mean, I was a little tired, obviously, but I never felt, that eerie, draining feeling you feel at a 9-to-5 job, because I see how much this means to the mom and dad. And I see, the look that these people give each other when they're at the altar. And I know it all sounds super cheesy, and it is cheesy, right? But cheese is good. We all like cheese, or a lot of people like cheese. But that being said, that is what drives me through those days, is this means so much to these people, and how can I serve them? Well, I can serve them with my talents. And so if you're wanting to get into this, make sure that you have a love for people, that you are good with people, and that you value people. Because if you do not, and all you care about is the money, that is a recipe for disaster, and you might make some quick cash right up front, but ultimately, I think you're going to get yourself in trouble. Number 2, and this goes along with number 1, I'm kind of listing them in priority, but number 2 is, consider what it's costing and what kind of time it's costing your client. And people often will tell me, on private coaching calls or on the podcast or in, comments, they'll say, well, it's not costing them any time, it's costing them money. But you've heard the old saying, time is money. So I always think of it like this. If I'm charging, and let's just throw a number out there, this is not what I charge, by the way, we'll get into that. If I'm charging $1,200, for a wedding, and, the dad's paying for it, I'm aware that that's happening at this particular wedding, how many hours do you think that man is having to put in his job and then give to you to pay for that? For most people, $1,200 in America, if you look at the average, that's like higher than the weekly paycheck for most people in America. So just something to consider, guys. Like, don't look at dollar signs just as money, because that money came from the time that they put in to their craft or their job. And so I always look at it like that. And I'm actually one of the higher priced people around my area, but we'll get into that now, because that's number 3. Number 3 is going to be really nail your pricing. What do I mean by that? Well, in my area, here in the Southeast, because I go all over the place. I was in Birmingham last night. I do weddings in New Orleans. I've even done weddings close to Atlanta. I do weddings in North Mississippi. I do weddings in South Florida. I do weddings all over the place. But you really, really have to nail your pricing. There's 2 folds to this. From my side, I have 3 children and a wife. and weddings typically take place on Saturdays. So I'm giving up my entire Saturday with my family to be with your family. Okay. And I'm not saying like, oh, you should just pay me a lot of money for that, but it is something for me to consider. If I'm going to go into this and do this, I need to make sure that it's going to be worth it for me. Right. But then the flip side of that is, you really want to give the customer as much value as possible and put as much care into the product as possible. And quite frankly, if you're charging $800 for weddings, you can't put that much care into it. You have to turn that wedding around so fast. You're only going to be able to use a certain amount of equipment. You're only going to be able to shoot at a certain aspect ratio, or, what I'm getting at is this craft costs money, right? So I want to shoot everything at a super high aspect ratio, super high frame rates, which means more data, which means more hard drives, which means more money on the expenditure side. So I'm just saying that because you can put a lot more effort into a wedding if you're charging $3,000, $4,000. I can dedicate my entire week to the wedding, and I can cover my own hotel room, and I can be there the entire day and not feel like that I'm spreading my profits thin. I can provide such a better product if I am charging more. Now, I understand if you're just starting out and you say, nobody's going to pay me this much. And I've got other videos going into, how to kind of build yourself up in the wedding industry. But that being said, you want to build yourself up pretty quick. Do a few weddings for, $500, $1,000, $1,500 just to get your portfolio up. But then really hone in on your pricing and make sure that you can dedicate as much time and resources needed to create an unbelievable, unforgettable product for your clients, and I promise you it will pay off, and there are clients out there who are willing to pay it. And the final thing that I want to talk about is nailing your quality, and it kind of goes back to point number 3, which is nailing your price. For me, I want this product to stand the test of time. Whenever they sit down with their kids and grandkids in 20, 30 years, I know cameras are always evolving and, things are always getting better, but I want it to stay as relevant for as long as possible. So I shoot everything that I possibly can with fast lenses, a quality glass, high aspect ratios, 4K or sometimes even 6.2K with, the Fujifilm cameras or my Red, and then also frame rates. You're going to want to shoot, and I do a mixture between slow-mo and real time. 24 and 60 is really what I jump between. But I can't do that if I don't, hone in number 3 to have the money to invest in the equipment and to invest in the storage to be able to do that. And also to invest into the time it takes to edit these things. Because if I'm only charging $800, well, I'm not going to want to edit for an entire week. That just doesn't make any sense. If I'm charging $4,000 or, $3,500, I can dedicate my entire week to that wedding, including the filming of the wedding, the editing, and all that good stuff. And, you want to get really good with your editing. You want to definitely create a style, but hone in the quality of your films and learn composition, learn lighting. When it comes to the editing, if you can get sound bites, learn how to incorporate those. Get good music licensing. That goes back to number 3. If I'm not charging enough money, then I cannot justify purchases like really good music licensing, right? Or I cannot justify purchases of, certain LUTs that would look really good with my camera. It all goes together, and if you'll raise your prices, you will be able to deliver a better product, which is going to look better on you, and the clients will be happier. Now, are you going to be pushing out a certain clientele? Yes, that's just the fact of the matter, right? And maybe it's something you want to build up to, or, maybe you do like to do stuff on the cheaper end, but personally, in my experience, I'm just telling you that it becomes very, very, very hard. You end up having to turn these things around quicker to justify the time that you're spending on them, and you end up delivering a lesser product. So that's just my opinion about weddings, guys. Do not get into it for the money. Hone in your prices. Really evaluate and appreciate the money that your clients are spending and what it means to your clients, because they're never going to do this again, hopefully. And some people, man, I've done some weddings for some people where I know the dad's paying for it. I know he works at a shipyard. He makes decent money, but I can personally analyze and say, That's probably his entire 2-week paycheck that he just gave me. And that's nothing to squawk at, and that's something you should really take seriously, because people work hard for their money, and it's hard to get and easy to lose. So anyways, that's it for this video. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll have more content for you. Check out the podcast, the Epic Creative Podcast. Make sure you check out the Epic Creative Shop. Link is in the description. I will see you later. I got to go pick up my kids. Peace.